Hello, hello, everyone. How is everyone doing today? I am so glad you guys could make it. I can see that the chat is already a mess, and I think it's going to get a lot more messier as we go along. But you guys, I have something very special for you all today that I hope you enjoy. Well, what am I saying? I know you guys will enjoy it and you will actually love it. Okay, so here's the thing. About 3 months ago, Enty Lawyer and I sat down and had a chit chat about Ron Burkle, Soho House, Markus Anderson, the whole shebang, right? And for any of you guys who are living under a rock and don't know who Enty Lawyer is, he is the mastermind behind Crazy Days and Nights. And well, if you guys haven't seen our videos or his blog or anything, I've got all of the links down below in the description box for you guys to go check out. I suggest you guys go and check out the video that we had the chit chat about after this, because then you'll get a lot more juicy details and information. And boy, is it good. So anyways, with this diddler nonsense hitting the fan and most of Hollywood shitting their pants, I asked Enty if he could come back and join me so we could have another conversation about this whole connection between Ron Burkle and Diddy, and Burkle being a big investor in Diddy's clothing line. He's the godfather to all of Diddy's children. I mean, there's so much to talk about. So I'm really lucky that Enty made some time to join me because I know he's super busy. So, let me add him here. Hey, Enty, how's it going?
It's going well. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for taking the time out of your day for being here, because I know you must be getting slammed with people just wanting to know what's going on, right?
Yeah, I mean the Sean Combs thing is a big deal, and I've been talking about him for almost 15, 20 years. So yeah, I mean people are definitely curious. But you're the first to, I think, to tie in to the whole, Ron Burkle, Sean Combs thing. And then there's, as you mentioned in the intro, we did the whole Ron Burkle, Meghan Markle thing. It's, there's not very many degrees of separation.
Oh, no. It's like a massive, you called it something interesting the other day. What were you saying? You said that it's like a cesspool of depravity. That's what Hollywood is.
Yeah, it's very incestuous. I mean, very incestuous. I mean, if you go back and, we already did the Burkle thing, but I mean, if you go back and Richard Caring is this other billionaire, and he's a very good friend of Harvey Weinstein, right? And so then Meghan Markle asked Harvey to introduce them, but Caring thought that Meghan was too old for him. So then she tried to win him over. And then Caring purchased Caprice Holdings, which included like the Ivy and Sexy Fish restaurants. And then he sold part of that to the Prime Minister of Qatar, who was a known sex trafficker. And then Nick Jones, who was a Soho House founder, sold his 80% of the club to Caring. And then Caring sold his to Ron Burkle.
Interesting. Now, that's very interesting. I didn't know that. Now, I find this all very interesting because a few months ago, I don't know if you remember, but Soho House had updated their website to include a disclaimer at the very bottom, which stated that Soho House had no connections to human trafficking or anything like that. So do you think they had an idea about this a few months ago, that this was coming down the pipe?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think that everybody kind of knows that not every Soho House location is, a hotbed of human trafficking, and they say that none are. But I challenge you to, to go to, say, the one in Hollywood and not find some people that would be willing to, play for pay kind of thing, or I could use a sugar daddy. And that goes for both sexes. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of those kind of deals being made, and Soho House is a neutral ground to make those kinds of deals. But then you look at the owner of Soho House and you go, okay, well this is Epstein's buddy, so it makes sense.
That's very, I didn't see. There's a lot of. I knew you would be the perfect person to talk to about this because you could fill in a lot of pieces that I am missing here. I don't know if many people know here, but Let me just mention this, that you guys know about the gossip rag Radar Online, right? So Radar Online was run by, and it was financed, actually, I should say, was financed by the man on the island and Ron Burkle. I don't know if you guys knew that. Did you know that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that Burkle and Epstein did,
Mm-hmm.
and Burkle and Epstein, along with some others, they were always trying to bid for properties and things like that. Radar was technically, and still kind of is, owned by the same people that own the National Enquirer.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, I mean, Epstein and Burkle did do those kind of deals together. And with Epstein, obviously Burkle's in the black book,
Mm-hmm.
and some Burkle has been really aggressive if you try and say that he's actually knew that Epstein was sexually trafficking people and stuff like that, because he wasn't charged, but he was definitely in Epstein's book. And
Mm-hmm.
and then he and Clinton would go on the Lolita Express all the time. But Burkle has described Epstein as creepy. But that was basically after Epstein had been charged, right? Not before. Um, and Clinton is basically owes his millions and millions of dollars to Ron Burkle, because when Clinton left office, he had just always been a public servant, and I put that in quotes,
Mm-hmm.
um, but hadn't ever really made any kind of huge things. And then all of a sudden, Burkle's like, "Oh, here, I'm going to put you on the board of this. I'm going to put you on the board of that. I'm going to put you on the board of this." And all of a sudden, then Clinton has, tens upon tens upon tens of millions of dollars that he wouldn't have had, if Burkle hadn't given it to him.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, because Burkle did invest, like, what was it, $100 million to start Sean John for Diddy?
yeah, Sean Combs Ron Burkle is Sean Combs's longest, investor time wise, and, gave $100 million. But, it was probably, I'm trying to remember that the first time that, that Sean Combs and Burkle got together, but it has been his longest relationship.
Hmm.
And, one of the things that other people might not know is that Ron Burkle bought Neverland, Michael Jackson's old property.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, he bought that a couple of years ago. So
Mhm.
yeah, Sean Combs and Ron Burkle are basically best friends. And so it's just another thing where Ron Burkle has this kind of horrible situation. And Ron Burkle is not above also, finding his girlfriends through yachting. And
Mhm.
Ron Burkle and Bill Clinton were first introduced by a woman that they had both slept with.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. Geez, it's just one huge circle jerk, one big Hollywood orgy. Everyone just screws each other one way or another, right?
It is. I've,
Yeah.
when we talked about yesterday with Paula, everything is just everybody knows everybody and everybody sleeps with everybody. But it is interesting that, and then it makes you take another step. So, okay, so Ron Burkle and Bill Clinton met because they both slept with the same person, right? And
Mhm.
that person introduced them. But who was this person? Was this person blackmailing Clinton? Was this person blackmailing Burkle? It was like, well, Ron, you're married and stuff, and I don't know if you want this to come out. Or Bill, you're married. I don't know if you want this to come out, right? And it's not like Ron Burkle is a nice guy or anything. He basically had a private investigator follow and harass his ex-wife and her boyfriend. Um, his his daughter sued him because he took a bunch of money supposedly from her investment fund. And anybody in politics, he's best friends with Willie Brown, who I know that everybody is, talking about a lot.
Mhm.
So there's just so many unseemly things. Giselle Bundchen was supposedly a yachter acquaintance of
Mhm.
Ron Burkle. That's how she ended up her first line of whatever. She, did some favors for Ron Burkle, and the next thing you know, she's got a bunch of money.
Is that how her flip-flop line started? Did Burkle invest money in that? Do you know, or no?
Yeah, no, he invested in that because he was doing that kind of thing. So I think Giselle Bundchen's probably the biggest name that
Yeah.
um, that probably is associated with him yachting wise.
Mm-hmm. And what about, like, I'm just thinking, because now there are allegations coming out that Burkle was one of Diddy's sugar daddies. What do you think about that?
I think that
Because you know the stories are just going to start flying, right? So,
they are. I would feel that my understanding is that Sean Combs has had relationships with men, and I'm not outing anybody. I don't do that, but there's been enough accusations from other guys who've accused him of it and accused him of blackmailing him, sex tapes and things like that. I don't think that Ron Burkle is that person. I think that there are certainly people who are Sean Combs's sugar daddies. I would look more towards, as I kind of mentioned yesterday with Jay-Z, I would look more towards NFL owners
mm-hmm.
if you're looking for a sugar daddy for Sean Combs.
Oh, yeah, because they're the ones with the big money there. That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, Burkle's not poor. Burkle's got a couple of $1 billion or whatever. And that's the other thing with Sean Combs. You know, he's offering up, I'll offer up a $50 million bail. Well, dude, you're supposed to be worth like a couple billion. So, you know, I'm surprised that he didn't offer up, you know, several $100 million or something like that. But I think that he doesn't want the government to know how much money he has. Because if he tells the government how much money he has, then all of a sudden they're going to say, oh, okay, well, we didn't know about that money. So now you're going to have to pay us even more with that. So.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. This is so crazy. Wow. Okay. I'm trying to figure out this. Now, I don't even know. Oh my God, my brain is just like so full of nonsense and all this mess that I just don't even know which way to pivot. It's such a cesspool. So much information is coming out, and it just seems like Burkle is connected to everyone. So you would think he's the most worried at the moment.
Oh, is Burkle worried? Here's the thing, is that when you're somebody like Ron Burkle,
Yeah.
and you have given so much money to so many people, you're really not worried about that much. Look how much it took for Epstein before he finally, you know, ended up in jail for good. Is just, you have too many people that you give money to. And the thing is, Epstein hadn't really given a ton of money to people, but he had blackmail and things like that. But Burkle has literally given money to every single Democrat ever. And not just Democrats. He you know, Schwarzenegger, he gave a ton of money to him when, you know, when he was governor and stuff. He throws money everywhere. And the other thing is that it's a little bit different with Burkle, is that he doesn't really ask for any favors. He never does that. He never asks for special access or anything, because I think that he's holding on to all those favors for whatever. Oh, okay, you know, all that money I've been giving you for the last 20 or 30 years. Now it's time to pay up.
Oh, so he's like holding it in his back pocket as something over them.
100%. 100%. And now one thing that hasn't been talked about very much is that Burkle's contact, he would talk directly to Sean Combs, but he would also talk to Christina Coram. And Christina Coram is kind of like Sean Combs's Ghislaine Maxwell. You think about it like that. Maybe even more so, because Ghislaine was in and out, and Ghislaine wasn't with Epstein full time, but Christina Coram, always there. She has been with Sean Combs for over a decade. And she is mentioned in the Little Rod suit. She's mentioned everywhere. She is up to her eyeballs in this. And she is either going to flip and tell, you know, everybody everything, and then fear for her life for the rest of time, or she is going to go down with Sean Combs. And I don't think that she's willing to go down. This is the person that I would think would most likely end up in witness protection is her. And I just
really, I thought almost a part of me thought that she would take herself out.
I don't know. She's just all up to it with the sex trafficking, the drug supplying, the physical abuse. She was there for everything. She knows who got paid. Will she, you know, unalive herself? I don't think so. I think that she'll cut a deal and go off into hiding somewhere. I'm sure that she's been able to skim some money over the years and things like that. Her
Mhm.
name's not in the federal filings, but she is there because it says things like high-ranking supervisors.
Yeah.
They're the co-conspirators. She is the highest ranking of the supervisors. She was there for literally everything. And I just
She
that's
was
the
also
person.
she
But
was also ordering some of the men, right?
yeah, she would do that. She would, and like I said, if Burkle couldn't get a hold of Sean Combs, then he's talking to Christina Coram.
Yeah.
And so she knows everything. I can't imagine uh, what amount of money is worth it for for you to be a part of something like that and to facilitate it and to see all these people getting used and abused and trafficked and drugged and sexually assaulted and just everything like that. And then you're just fine with it. You got your LinkedIn page and you're all proud of the fact that, you're in Bad Boy Entertainment and stuff. It just,
Gross. Gross.
very
I honestly think, like, a part of me thinks that we're gonna start seeing some people off themselves or just disappear.
maybe. I mean, it wouldn't shock me because just the sheer volume of people that are involved in this. You guys, if you think about Epstein and stuff, there were a lot of victims, hundreds upon hundreds. And this is going to dwarf that. This is going to be so many more. And this is going to ensnare everybody in Hollywood. There's a rumor right now buzzing around that Mary J. Blige is involved in all of this.
Mhm.
And it is going to drag down so many names. You're gonna have so many people. I know that everybody asks about Jay-Z. They're Jay-Z and Beyonce are on the outs right now, and I think that she's running away from him. And I think that this is part of the reason is to get away from the fallout. I don't think they'll get divorced because he doesn't want her testifying against him.
Mhm.
But Jay-Z's got to be worried. But like I said yesterday, he's got the full backing of all the NFL owners.
Yeah.
And so, and the NFL owners are probably the most powerful people in the country. I know it seems weird that some sports teams owners are, but they're the richest.
Mhm.
They control the biggest sports in the United States. They control really the gambling in the United States. And if you think about it, other sports owners like Mark Cuban and Sean Combs have a very long relationship together. So, that was more of a public one because of the fact that Sean Combs wanted to have John design the uniforms for the Mavericks and stuff. But that has turned into basically a long-term mentorship kind of thing.
Mhm.
There's so many billionaires other than Burkle that Sean Combs has a relationship. He has a relationship with Ray Dalio, who founded Bridgewater, which is the world's largest hedge fund. He's worth like $20 billion.
Yeah,
And
he's connected to a lot of Wall Street guys too, right? Like you're saying. Yeah.
And those are the ones. So those are somebody like a Ray Dalio. You go, okay, let's see, if he's involved in this. I don't think he went to any freak offs. But let's say Sean Combs said, if you ever need anybody, you ever need a certain situation or whatever, I'm happy to provide it.
Mhm.
And, so is somebody like that going to get, called in? Mark Wahlberg, huge Sean Combs, they've partnered together on a bunch of things. So is Mark Wahlberg going to be called in? Because, they've had a really long relationship. Is it just financial? Is there more to it than that? Because they do have this thing. You have people from Estee Lauder and William Lauder is, I think, the current guy there.
Mhm.
And he and Sean Combs have this thing. Sean Combs has rung the opening bell at Wall Street a couple of times now. And there's going to be a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of names There's going to be a lot of names you don't know. But there's, much like Epstein and a lot of the names that are redacted, there's a lot of billionaires here, a lot of billionaires. Are they going to go down? I don't think so.
Yeah, well, nobody's gone down for the whole Epstein thing. No, nothing's happened there. So I highly doubt the people, or like the really high up people that are dealing with Diddy, anything's going to happen to them. It'll be more like the lower level people that get thrown to the wolves, basically, is what I think.
Yeah, but you also have to remember that Epstein is really small potatoes compared to this. This has tentacles everywhere. These parties were everywhere. And he would have them in the cities, and these billionaires and things. With Epstein, yeah, some people rode on the jets, and Epstein and his friends, basically abused and all these underage kids. But Sean Combs, I can't even begin to tell you the multiples. Like, some of these parties would have 200 or 300 people there, and it's all these sex workers, and nobody's checking ID or anything like that. Some of it, like the parties that he would have for a year, are probably the amount of victims that Epstein had through his entire terror run. So this is way worse. Now, with Epstein, there was more trafficking, in the sense that he would go to smaller, poorer countries with his modeling competitions, and then the models that were there, whatever, he would ship them off and sell them to people forever. And you don't really have that with Sean Combs. It's more just of a trafficking thing and drugs and stuff. And as I think I told you and Paula yesterday, you have to think of it like a mafia family, and Sean Combs is the godfather, and then you have the people below and the people below, and then the foot soldiers kind of thing. That's how you have to kind of think of it. And everything that a mafia family would do is exactly what Sean Combs. Let's enforce it. Let's threaten. Let's kill. Let's whatever. I think that Sean Combs is also worried that now he's going to get caught up in, maybe somebody's going to rat him out for the Biggie Smalls murder. Somebody's going to rat him out for Tupac's killing. And, then you can't make any kind of deal.
And Kim Porter's, right? Can't forget Kim's.
Yeah. I never forget Kim. And yes, he killed Kim 1,000%. And I don't care if he tries to come after me or whatever. He killed Kim Porter. It's because Kim Porter knew all his secrets, right? Just like his Ghislaine knows all his secrets. And that's why I said, if she does turn on him, she is going to be running in fear for the rest of her life, because Sean Combs has money well outside of prison. He's got it hidden and stuff. And all he has to do is just tell somebody to go do it. And here, I'll give you some money. And he is known for paying. So it's not like somebody's going to do it for free or not think they're going to get paid. And she could very well end up dead.
Well, I heard that Kim was writing a book too. She made 3 different copies of the transcript of the book and gave it to 3 different people. So I heard that when Diddy found out that she was writing a book, that's when, she got sick, allegedly.
Sick. Yeah. Pneumonia. So she ends up dead. There's been a lot of people in Sean Combs's history that have ended up dead or injured. And I think that Kim is one. I think that this other person would have a chance to be killed. Shine, he did what he was supposed to do. And now, like you said, he's in Belize. Yeah. And now he's finally talking about the fact that, he did basically just, do the time for a bunch of money.
Yeah. He took the rap for 10 years.
I know.
10 years behind bars. That's crazy. And then he got shipped straight to Belize. But now he's a politician there, right?
Yeah, he's in their parliament. Yeah. Well, at least, you can trust him.
Yeah, I guess so. You can. Some people are asking if Oprah's involved. I mean, how could she not be?
I mean,
she hangs around all the weirdos.
She does. And I think we talked a little bit about it yesterday with Paula, that Oprah and David Geffen, they used to always hang out all the time. And then they had some kind of falling out. But this last summer, when all of this was going on, Oprah and David Geffen decided to go back on the yacht together, where they plan everything. And Chelsea Clinton was on the yacht and some others. And I feel like it was them circling the wagons. Okay, this is how we're going to play this. This is how we're going to do it. And, we'll bring in some of these other people, because you recognize David Geffen, you can recognize Oprah, you can recognize Chelsea Clinton, but you'd be hard pressed if I showed you a lineup of people to pick out the billionaires, right, and who they are. So you have these people on this yacht or whatever, and they just say, okay, well, this is how we can control this. This is how we can control this. And it wouldn't surprise me if they thought that Sean Combs was going to say something that he ends up dead. And the best way for him to be dead, though, is probably not in the prison, because I think that the prison just doesn't want to have that light, shining on them. I think it would be better if he was at home. And then he could, quote unquote, overdose or something like that.
I really think, because I feel like he's not going to talk. Diddy's not going to talk, but someone will, to throw him under the bus. I'm just waiting for someone to talk, basically.
Well, it's going to be, Karina or whatever. There's.
You think Karina's really going to throw him under the bus and say everything? Or is she going to keep her mouth shut and protect him? I don't know. Sorry.
So, I mean, no, I think that it's Christina, not Karina. But Karina Steffens is another person who knows a lot of stuff, if we're talking about Karina's. But yeah, I think Christina will throw him under the bus. That's the biggest name to throw him under the bus, because, again, let's think of a mafia family. We have the Godfather. Then we need to go one level below to the captains, right? And Christina's a captain. And so if you have a Godfather captain, turning on the Godfather or whatever, that's how they go down. The other person who should really fear for her life right now is Cassie. Like, if she doesn't have 10 bodyguards, we talk about it. Let's make this a little Harry and Meghan thing. Okay. So Harry and Meghan are always scared. Oh my gosh, somebody's going to kill me. Somebody's going to kill me. Oh my gosh, the paparazzi, look, they're chasing me with their horrible cameras. Okay. The only reason that Sean Combs is in jail is because of Cassie. Period. End of story. If he had paid her the money without her filing the lawsuit, he would still be running roughshod and buying up lubes and oils. And so if you read the indictment, everything is victim one, victim one, victim one. If you read it, everything sounds exactly like her lawsuit. So if Cassie ends up dead, then most of the government's case falls apart. So she's the one who should have the bodyguard. She's the one who should be in fear for her life, not, Harry and Meghan.
Is Cassie still in the States?
She was just, there was some picture of her yesterday.
Oh my goodness. If I was her and I got the money sent to me, I would be out of the country and take my kids out of the country stat. I don't know why she's hanging around in the States where she's easily accessible, especially now.
I know. And honestly, when we do, Harry and Meghan don't need bodyguards, but Cassie does. Cassie needs bodyguards. She shouldn't be leaving her house until after the trial.
Do you think Cassie will get pneumonia soon? That's what Piper's asking.
Well, no, I think, Piper, that's a really good question. I think that she doesn't need to be out and about and being caught by the paparazzi. Yeah. Because she still has a little bit of thirst in her, right? Because she was a celebrity. She wanted to be an entertainer. So she's still got a little bit of that thirst in her. Yeah. And, after she settled the lawsuit or filed the lawsuit, she went out and had a little pap stroll. And, you got to kind of throw that. You got to say, no, you can't do that, because she knows what Sean Combs is capable of. And honestly, I kid you not, if she ends up dead, then we're relying on Little Rod. Who I love Little Rod, because Little Rod obviously reads blind items, because his entire lawsuit reads like one big blind item that I wrote.
I love the Little Rod lawsuit. That was awesome. He threw a lot of good nuggets in there, that's for sure. I wanted to know, though, I just want to bring it back to Burkle real quick, and the whole Soho House alleged trafficking and things like that. Do you think Soho House could get dragged into this and be looked at?
Oh, that's a really good question. There's obviously a lot of, they put that thing or whatever, the disclaimer on there. Yeah. But if you think about all the people that are involved, I think that they could be. Ron Burkle is going to end up having to be some kind of witness in this. And whether I can't figure out if it's going to be for Sean Combs' side or for the government side, but he's going to be brought in. And if he's not really cooperative with the government, then the government could say, hey, there's some questions about Soho House and exactly what's been going on at those clubs and stuff. So they could really, and if, when you have private clubs and you have all this membership money floating around and stuff like that, it's pretty easy to launder a lot of that stuff. So, I think that there would be some questions.
I wish you would read to the blind. That's very, because a part of me feels like, and this is just my opinion, I feel like the Soho House headquarters was used for a bit of that trafficking and stuff like that. And I feel like that's going to get dragged in, and then the whole Oprah school is going to be brought up again. I don't know. It's just going to make a big, huge mess for everyone.
I mean, when you dig deep, there's such a cesspool. It's all slimy. It's all grimy. It's all dirty. But like I said, a few minutes ago, if Cassie, and somebody said, who's Cassie? Cassie Ventura is Sean Combs's former girlfriend and abuse victim and basically trafficking and blackmailed and abused and beaten up and things like that. But if it's not for her lawsuit, the game is still on, right? Everything, we're not having this conversation. We're still, we'll be talking about the lawsuits and stuff that would be filed, but honestly, none of the lawsuits would have been filed if it hadn't been for Cassie. All of these lawsuits that were filed were after she filed hers, for the most part. I mean, there's some like the chef and stuff from 2018 and 2019, but most of them were after she filed. And whether or not they saw it as a way to try and get some money, whether or not they saw it as a way to stand up because they felt, okay, Cassie did it, so I can do it. And I think the case with Dawn Richard, who's the most recent one, I think that the government came and interviewed her. And so she decided, since they were interviewing her anyway, that she was just going to go ahead and file a lawsuit. So the thing is that we want all these people to go down. We want Oprah to go down. I want David Geffen to go down. I've wanted David Geffen to go down ever since day one of, writing the blog. But there's nothing. It's extremely frustrating, and it takes some kind of confluence of events. To give you guys an idea, I was writing about Jeffrey Epstein probably years before he got arrested. Many, many years. I was writing about Harvey Weinstein 9 years before he got arrested. I was writing about Nexium for 5 or 6 years before that went down. But it takes some kind of momentum, some kind of thing, like a Cassie, or it takes, with the Epstein in it, it takes some kind of random event to make it happen. And we got this event with Sean Combs, but we're not going to probably get it with David Geffen. We're probably not going to get it with Oprah, because who's going to take them down? What U.S. attorney is going to take down Oprah? And here's the other thing. U.S. attorneys are appointed by the president. So, it just, and if they have stuff on either party, then it doesn't matter, right? So it's the same thing why Epstein didn't go down for the longest time in New York City, is because he had the district attorney basically on his payroll. And so the district attorney was never going to file a case. And in this particular situation, maybe the government's telling Sean Combs, hey, we've had enough of you, or we feel like you're getting too out of control. And Oprah and David, or whoever, Ron Burkle, these other billionaires, are saying, you know what, it's time for you to go down, because we need to protect our own interests. And we're offering up one of our own. We're offering up a billionaire. Look, not all the world elites, but look, who we're offering up. We're offering up Sean Combs, right? We're not offering up the Oprah. We're not offering up some huge A++ lister. Yes, everybody knows Sean Combs' name, but we're not going to get the big, big, big people that everybody wants.
Now, do you find this all interesting that this is all happening around the election?
Yeah and no. I think that it distracts, right? It distracts, because what are all the news cycles about? It's always going to be Sean Combs. And if you think that it's not about news, think about, did the U.S. attorney really have to mention the 1,000 bottles of oil and lube?
Yeah, I found that so unprofessional, and calling it freak offs the whole time. Like, the whole time listening to that entire conference, that whole talk, and him mentioning the lube bottles and freak off constantly. I was just like, I've never heard like a whole speech being done like this. I've never heard anyone speak like this before.
You know, obviously on the blinds, I've always talked about freak offs and I've used that term or whatever, but it was extremely strange to see a U.S. attorney saying that. But it is, the whole oil and lube thing is to get people to those clickbait headlines, right? 1,000 bottles of oil and lube, you know, and then it gets people talking like that, and then all of a sudden you're not talking about other things, and you're not talking about the presidential election. And don't forget that the U.S. attorney, again, is appointed by a president, so they could have waited until after November. I mean, we're only 6 weeks away, right?
Yeah.
It's not like, you know, Sean Combs was going to go anywhere because they weren't going to let him leave the country. So, you know, they could have waited 6 weeks, and, you know, they chose not to.
Yeah, I feel like they're using it to get people's attention off of it. But I've been seeing this question pop up a lot in the chat here. So Jenny was asking if Enty thinks that John Fitzpatrick is relevant to this. Who's John Fitzpatrick?
I'm assuming they don't mean the Atlanta Falcons player. I'm assuming they probably mean the CEO of Fitzpatrick Hotel Group. Is that what we're talking about? I'm not sure if he's relevant at all to it. I don't know if that's the person that we're talking about, because it's a fairly common name.
Yeah, Jenny, let me know who you're talking about, and then we can get back to that question, please, and thank you. Besides that, I'm wondering also here, hold on, I had another question. Bieber. I was going to ask about Bieber. What was I going to ask? Because I'm doing all this off the top of my head. I didn't write any notes, but we know that Bieber was clearly had a lot of interactions with Diddy. Do you think he will get involved in this and become like a witness?
I think that it would probably crush him if he did, because, you know, Justin Bieber is very, very always close to going over the edge.
Yeah.
And just always. And the thing is that there's video of Sean Combs with a 15-year-old, 16-year-old Justin Bieber saying, we're going to get really wild this weekend. And, you know, you're talking about a grown man with like a 15-year-old. And what happened to Justin Bieber that weekend? What happened to Justin Bieber, you know, every weekend? You know, his mom wasn't there. So you have Sean Combs and Usher and taking him to these parties. Is that a place for a 14 or 15-year-old? The thing is that, you know, that statute of limitations has passed probably. And so if you bring Justin Bieber in to discuss the parties or whatever that he was attended, they're not really relevant because they happened so long ago, and they're not, you know, part of the, if you look at the indictment, it says from 2008, 2009, I forget which year they're talking about. And yeah, so I was right. Okay. So Fitzpatrick with the hotel group. He is connected. I don't think that he's connected to Burkle, but I don't think he has a relationship with Sean Combs. I'd have to look into it more. But I don't think that he has a relationship with Sean Combs. The only reason that Burkle has a relationship is just because of the Sean John clothing line and some other projects that they did. But I don't think Fitzpatrick has a connection to Sean Combs. Fitz introduced Megan to the golfer. Okay, to Rory.
I think so.
Yeah,
that's
that is interesting. But anyway, so Justin Bieber, and I think that Haley's watching him. I had something today where she's taking his phone away from him, but he basically, he's always one step away from going to a mental institution.
I think he should have been put into a mental institution after he had that huge mental breakdown and had to go stay with his pastor, his so-called quote unquote pastor.
I know. Yeah, so he is a victim for sure. Yeah. The reason he is as he is because he's a victim of probably Sean Combs, probably Usher, probably some other things. I mean, if you imagine some of these things that were going on in these freak offs where they have to have IVs afterwards, is that a place for like a 14, 15-year-old kid? No, it's not really a place for anybody, but especially a 14 or 15-year-old kid. And think about if they had that 14-year-old kid, think about the other 14-year-old kids, and think about how young Usher was when it all started too.
Yeah. Usher said he was 14 years old and seeing things that no 14-year-old should ever be witnessing at that age, but he wouldn't get into it. And then apparently Usher was, there's the story that Gene Deal told about Usher. And for those who don't know, Gene Deal was one of Diddy's longtime bodyguards. And he said that Usher was sent to the hospital after one of these freak offs. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I mean, Gene Deal, I mean, his topics are always interesting.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't always know which things are true and which, just Gene's going for some clickbait kind of thing. But yeah, I think with Usher, I think that it happened. And there was some awful things that happened to a lot of people. And this has been going on for 30 years. And so for 30 years, and like I said, he would have got away with it until the day he died if Cassie hadn't, filed the lawsuit. And we pretend to be shocked. We're talking about it now, right? Because he was arrested, and we're spending all this time talking about it. But it's been there in front of our face, whether like Gene Deal or whatever. Gene Deal's been talking about it a long time. I've been talking about it a long time. Wendy Williams has been talking about it for 26 years. People have been talking about it. Sean Combs was arrested for threatening somebody back in 1995. Mm-hmm. And then again in 1998. And then in 1999, we had the shooting and the Jennifer Lopez hiding the gun. And in 2001, he, beat up another record label executive. In 2000, it just goes on and on and on. It's been right in front of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Diddy was literally talking about it in his songs. If you listen to his lyrics, it's all in there. Like, he was basically proud of what he was doing. But Truth Be Told wants to know. Sorry, were you going to answer that?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Truth Be Told wants to know why there isn't any repercussions against the parents of Bieber and Usher.
There's never any repercussions against the parents. And the parents, what they do is they just say, and if somebody like in Justin Bieber's case, like his dad basically gets all just, for the longest time got Justin Bieber's hand-me-downs, if you want to put it like that, like groupies or whatever. And he would, find them and stuff and, being 3 decades older than some of them. And the thing is, I'll tell a story that I haven't told in a long time. Okay. Is that there was, so Justin Bieber learns about these parties and stuff. And, he's going through them 15, 16 years old. And then he started to have his own parties, the same kind. And I have a friend, and a very, very good friend. And she had a younger sister. And the younger sister went to a party in Atlanta that was hosted by Justin Bieber. There was like 4 guys, something like that. And probably 30 girls. And I say girls instead of women because none of these girls were older than like 16 or 17 years old. And Justin Bieber wasn't that much older than them, maybe 5 or 6 years older. But some of the guys that he had, like some of these friends, they were like in their 30s. And then he would make everybody drop their phone into a thing. There's no pictures or anything like that. And then he would make them basically change into something so that way he knew that there wasn't anything hidden in their pockets and stuff. And then basically the idea was to get all these kids drunk, and then they would have sex with them, they would record them, they would just do all kinds of whatever things. And I think he learned that all from Sean Combs, because you don't get to be that much of a, I'm going to say degenerate or whatever, but you don't a deviant. You don't get to be that much of a deviant at that young of an age, unless you've been exposed to it. And the same thing if, there's another with Travis Scott, and it's the same kind of setup. And it was really interesting because the story about Justin Bieber, I probably heard a decade ago or something like that, because the sister was about that age a decade ago. But then Travis Scott, I heard this other story then, and it wasn't just hearing it. There was a reporter that was going to use it, but the tabloid didn't want to run it because they didn't want to upset Kim Kardashian and the Kardashians, because Travis Scott was with Kylie Jenner at the time. And this is while he's with Kylie Jenner. And he basically had the same kind of party. It was basically everybody comes over, and then he made everybody put on a wife beater and shorts, so that way they didn't have anything hidden or whatever. And then, the idea was to get them drunk and stuff and do the same kind of thing. So obviously there's some kind of master class in abusing, women and making sure that they can't do anything about it and not having any record of it anywhere.
That's what every Hollywood party is like, though, isn't it?
No, actually,
or anything is allowed in the party. Isn't that how it goes?
No, not really. It depends. Now in like the kind of like San Vicente bungalows or chateau, you're not allowed to take photos.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that kind of thing. But yeah, so generally, let's say you're going to have, sex with some kind of A-list or whatever, they probably will make you sign an NDA. And the NDA would then cover you from, you could take photos where you're not going to be able to distribute them at all because you've signed this NDA. So that's generally how it goes.
Now, do you think Kris Jenner is shitting her pants with this going on? Because I think a lot of people, sorry to interrupt you, because I think a lot of people want to see the Kardashians completely brought down. They want to be done with them.
Well, I would love to see them brought down too, because they're about to start exploiting another generation, right? You have 7-year-old with an Instagram now. You have, a 7 or 8-year-old walking in Fashion Week and everything, because they're trying to, shove these 7 and 8, 9, 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds down our throats.
Yeah.
And, we talked about it yesterday, and somebody corrected me because I said, oh, Kendall and Kylie were on the stripper pole by 13. And somebody goes, no, I think they were really even younger than that. And I checked, and I think that they were. I think that one of them was like 11 years old, and they already had her on a stripper pole and everything. And why would you have a stripper pole? And why would you allow your 11-year-old to show that? And it wasn't for fun or games or anything like that. It was for that. And they've offered up their kids before when they're underage. And Kylie's like 17 years old or 16 years old with Tyga, who was 25 or 26 at the time. And, oh, Drake, oh, he can make your career. Just go ahead and have sex with him or whatever. And it's just this. I don't know if Kris Jenner will go down. I know somebody in the comments talked about Corey Gamble again. And I think that there should be an episode on Corey Gamble and all the places that he's been. And if you weren't listening to us yesterday, Corey Gamble was at the whole Whitney Houston death scene too. Yeah. And he's been everywhere. He's always, he's like Tony Todd in, who always plays death, and Corey Gamble just kind of is just always there on the periphery of all these death and horrible, evil things. And so, yeah, I think that I'm trying to figure out a way that the Kardashians would go down. I can't get Sean Combs and Kim Kardashian kind of thing, because it's, again, you have to have it be within the statute of limitations. Do I think that Kim Kardashian has probably slept with Sean Combs? Yeah. But I can't see. Well, I don't know. She did sleep with, well, here's the thing. Like, she did sleep with Justin Bieber, and then Rihanna slept with Justin Bieber. And, everybody sleeps with everybody.
Yeah.
And Rihanna slept with Jay-Z.
Are Bieber's children?
Whose kids? Sorry.
Did you hear that? Sorry, I totally jumped in there. I'm sorry about that. Courtney, one of her kids, they're claiming that Rain or one of them belongs to Bieber and not actually Scott's.
The only reason I will say no to that is because I think that Justin Bieber has a lot of issues with finishing, so to speak. And I think he also has a problem with maintaining the energy, so to speak. Okay. And one of my favorite things it was actually the night before Rihanna got beaten by Chris Brown. And I was at this party, I think it was at Boulevard, and there was a Grammy party, and walked in, and so Justin Bieber's there, Rihanna's there. And I hold for whatever reason, I'm like holding the door open for Rihanna. I guess we got to this one door at the same time, and then Justin Bieber's there. And she said something like, "You still coming in 60 seconds, baby?" Just like that, no hi or anything. That's just, she just walks right past him like that and just says that. And like, no hello, no kiss, no anything. Just, you still coming in 60 seconds, baby. and
Wow.
in that accent of hers, and it was just it was just crazy.
Now that's some hot tea.
Yeah.
I would that just threw me right off. I was gonna ask something, but it completely went out of my brain. Oh, here's what I wanted to ask. So you did bring up the whole Rihanna and Chris Brown thing. So we saw how quickly Chris Brown got canceled after putting his hands all over Rihanna. Why isn't the same happening to Diddy after we saw the video of Cassie getting hands thrown on her in the lobby of the hotel?
Okay. You think Chris Brown's canceled?
Well, his music isn't like being put out. He's not being invited to any award shows or
See, and
anything.
that's okay. You're right. He's not putting out much music. He's not being invited to award shows.
Yeah.
And yesterday he just got accused of another assault by another woman, and I think that makes 3 in the last year. And all summer he played out to sold out 20,000 seat arenas because it's like people just don't care. They just don't. I'd say this all the time. If for whatever reason R. Kelly got out of jail, he could go sell at a stadium concert the next day.
Yeah.
It's just for whatever reason, people are just like, you know what? I still like their music. But Sean Combs doesn't have that, right? Sean Combs doesn't have really that big of a music career. He's a producer and stuff, but he's got all the powerful friends and everything. And I just, he did apologize after that video came out, but I think he knew by then that the gig was up. And so I don't think he would have apologized if he didn't have all this pressure. I think at that time his homes had already been raided. I can't remember the exact timeline. So, he was just trying to be on his best behavior and try and have everybody still like him.
Well, he was still denying everything. Diddy was still denying everything up until that video dropped. And then he finally came and apologized for what he did.
Well, that's how it always is. It's the same with the new lead singer of Linkin Park. She supported Danny Masterson, the serial rapist, wrote him a letter of support, showed up in court, followed him on Instagram, and then somebody called her out. And she's like, oh, no, no, I don't know why I said that. I support all victims and everything. Well, you didn't say anything until somebody called you out on it.
Yeah, that's gross. These people are such flip-floppers. It's so disgusting.
Yes.
It's absolutely disgusting.
Oh, somebody asked, I want to do this real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Somebody said, what do people think about Muhammad Fayed? So let's do a little Meghan and Harry. So I have a blind, and I don't remember where it is. But I saw the Muhammad Fayed stuff that came out today. But Brittany Murphy had always said that she was raped by Muhammad Fayed. And
before she passed away?
Yeah, it was before she passed away. Yeah. And so I had written about it. And now we get all the stories that, yes, he in fact was raping everybody. So.
And then I've got 2 questions for you because I know you're a busy man and you got to go. So we'll wrap it up here afterwards. So the one question here is that Margaret wants to know about NDAs. Basically, when do they finish and what are the penalties? So within an NDA, I know that an NDA does not cover criminal behavior, but could a person put in the NDA that as long as there is that type of I don't know, freaky behavior or nature, then they can't go after them? Or like what? I don't know what I'm trying to ask here.
It's okay. But the thing is that until recently, NDAs actually did keep you from even talking about illegal activity.
Really? I thought that was covered.
It's only been really recently. I mean, and the thing is with NDAs, there's such a huge penalty. Sometimes it can be millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And you automatically lose. It's kind of like a contract of adhesion. And an adhesion contract is if you go to your doctor or your dentist and you sign some form or whatever that they make you sign. A contract of adhesion means you don't have any opportunity to negotiate the contract at all. You just have to sign it or else you don't get services. And with an NDA, it's basically you automatically lose. It's kind of like another thing, if we want to say, is statutory sexual assault, right? If the person's under 18, it doesn't matter whether you knew or you didn't know. It's strict liability. You're guilty. And so with the NDA, if you violate it, they're generally written to the fact of you're guilty. You automatically have to pay this $2 million. And do they end? Yeah, I mean, they can. There can be some kind of time period. One of the other things with NDAs is there usually has to be some type of consideration, which means money involved. Not always, because it can be something, it has to be something of value. Consideration is generally, you could sign an NDA and give somebody $1, and that's consideration. But with an NDA, like I've been going back to the chef of Sean Combs because she's relevant because it wasn't that long ago and she was witness to all these parties and all these sexual activities. And I'm sure that as part of her settlement, she signed some kind of agreement saying that she wouldn't talk. And I do wonder now that he's been arrested if that has been voided and if she has been talking to the federal government.
Well, that's what I'm wondering also, because I'm sure Diddy got people to sign like the most elaborate NDAs possible. So I'm wondering now that he is in jail, and I think you and I had a discussion about this. Like I thought he would stay in there, and I think you thought that he was going to be released, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the general consensus amongst like public defenders and stuff that I've seen is that they're shocked that he didn't get bail. But then you look at former, U.S. attorneys and they make a very valid point that, he is facing life in jail. He probably wouldn't get sentenced to life in jail, but he's facing life in jail and he's facing forfeiture of his assets. So that makes him a big, guy who could flee. The public defenders, I think, are so used to nobody even really having bail money or having a lower amount that it shocks them when they're saying, oh, ankle monitoring and $50 million and he's not going to have any women come over or anything like that. And so it just kind of shocks them. I still think that he'll probably get bail. He'll find some judge eventually, especially if everybody wants to kill him, because if they want to kill him, it's going to be much easier to do at his house.
I understand. Yeah. And putting up his children's passports too, right? Like him dragging his children into this is just absolutely mind-boggling to me. Enty, I think we're going to end with this one. So I think Elkie wants to know, how credible is Jaguar Wright? I don't know if you've heard about her.
I have. I mean, with everybody, I think that I like what Jaguar says. And I think that she actually, because she's a singer and she knows that, and she's performed with like Jay-Z, and I find her to be much more believable about stuff than even like Gene Deal, just because she's been there, she's been around for a long time. So I find her to be
more credible than Gene, you said?
I think so, because I think sometimes Gene goes for clicks.
Okay, that's interesting.
And yeah, I think that I just, I do. And she just has this. She's got the history of knowing everything. I mean, she's basically been around since it started. The Roots are the ones who found her, and and she's been with Jay-Z since 2000 and everything. I mean, this is a person that has gone, and because she's gone around and been with all these different acts and she's seen so many things, right? She's hung out with Mary J. Blige. She's been with Sean Combs. She's been with Jay-Z. She's been with The Roots. She's been with Jill Scott. She's been with everybody. And I just, she's just come into contact with so many different people. So I like, I believe her.
Yeah, I believe her too. And a part of me believes her as long as she hasn't been, no one's tried to file any lawsuits against her. No one's tried to do anything. So that tells me a lot. The fact that she's been saying so much and no one's gone after her so far.
Yeah, because she knows it all. You guys, there is something to be said for being around everything. You just pick up stuff and just like if you're in Hollywood or LA and you go here and you go there, you might not see something every day, but you see something every other day or every few days. And there's this celebrity, they were mean or whatever. And it's just this accumulation of knowledge. And she has been and performed with some of the biggest acts. And it's not just that. It's also the fact that, she's backstage and she sees something else going on. And then not just the big acts. Then she performs with somebody who's got this group and they performed with somebody. I just find that somebody who's had a 25, 26 year career during this same time frame is just highly credible and probably knows everything. And she probably has a million more stories.
That's interesting. Very, very interesting. Well, we will keep our eyes and ears open to all of the stories that she comes out with, aren't we?
Yes.
You guys, I'm going to let Enty go here because he has a very busy day ahead of him. And I'm actually very lucky that you stayed here for an hour. So thank you for your time and answering all my questions and the chat's questions.
You're very, very welcome.
Thank you. Can we do this again soon? Real
Very soon, whenever you like.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. I think we definitely need to do a part 2 of this for sure. But anyways, you guys, I've put all of Enty's connections where you can find him, his website. He's even on YouTube. If you guys didn't know, you guys can follow him there. All of the links are in the description box below. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and we will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.